What's up, people? Will Clarke here, and welcome to the first ever episode of the Will Clarke podcast. On this show, I have a good friend of mine called Gregory Gourdet. Greg is a chef that has achieved some pretty big things in his career. He's currently on the All-Star series of Top Chef. Was also, I believe, he was on the Series 12. He's achieved a lot of things, been in a lot of restaurants, was a huge part of Departure in Portland, and is just generally a super nice guy. Had a really good conversation with him, and I'm really happy that we started the podcast series off with him. So without further ado, ladies and gents, I want to welcome Gregory Gourdet. What's up?
I haven't seen this so long.
I know, it's been ages. How are you, man?
I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, really good. In this mad world right now we're living in.
Yeah. Are you in Cheddar?
Yeah, in Somerset. It's actually like, it's kind of weird because it's kind of nice around here at the moment. It's like beautiful weather.
Yeah.
Like no one lives around here. So you kind of not really getting the full effect of the craziness. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you fine.
Cool. But yeah, how is it in Portland?
It's pretty crazy. Everyone's on lockdown.
Yeah.
We have shelter in place. There's like literally no one outside. I just went running. There's like a handful of people out. Everything's closed. There's still a handful of restaurants doing takeout and to go.
Yeah.
But even more closing.
It's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, a pretty important chef passed away a couple days ago, so that kind of sent a big shock through the system.
Was that due to coronavirus?
Yeah, he had corona. He was an Indian chef. He opened restaurants in New York City for quite some time, and then he returned to India recently. But a lot of us like either ate there or worked for him, like back in the day.
Damn, that's so rough, man.
Pretty big wake-up call for our industry as well.
What was his name?
Lloyd Cardoz.
Okay.
Brought like Indian food to fine dining in New York in the 90s.
That's so rough. It kind of doesn't really hit home until it hits home, until like something like that kind of happens and you're just like.
Yeah. And I mean, in Louisiana has like an insane like density of people who have tested positive because they had Mardi Gras, they just had spring break, so they have like one of the highest densities per population because no one really takes like heightened precautions until you start hearing about people in your community having it or dying. So everyone still gets together, and then in the case of down in Louisiana and Florida, like it's like too late because it was already circulating. So now a bunch of people are sick.
Yeah, because
like
even on like in Florida, like I've seen on Instagram, like people are still fucking partying.
Yeah.
It's almost like they don't care. I was literally just talking to like a friend in San Diego and I was like, what are you up to today? And she's like, oh, I just did a workout with like some friends. They came to my garage and we all worked out. And I'm like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Like, what are you actually doing? It's kind of crazy because it's like, and then she was like, oh, my friend came over, my friend stayed over because she didn't want, or my sister's friend stayed over because she didn't want to get her grandparents sick. And I'm like, yeah, but you're living with your parents. So you're fine with your parents to get sick, but don't want her grandparents to get sick. It's like, come on, people.
Stay in place.
But
now it's changing now. Like, I feel like it's affecting a lot of younger people in the States. Like in China, it was like, or abroad, it was a lot of older people. And now it's affecting a lot of younger people are contracting and getting sick.
Well, I think yesterday or the day before, we had the first UK death. I think she was 21, like not the first UK death, but the first like younger person to die. And she was like 21, which sucks. But I don't know, man. And it's kind of crazy, like how obviously it's affected all of us, but like I don't think I don't really know the full extent of how it's affected your kind of industry.
So it's pretty bad. It started in Seattle. Obviously, the first American case was in Seattle. Someone traveled to Wuhan and they came back and they lived in Seattle. So we saw it like a month and a half ago, and a lot of our Seattle restaurants business just started tanking immediately, and they were like calling for help, and it was pretty crisis, and the streets thinned out. But then it very rapidly made its way through the rest of the country. Oregon was like second, California jumped over to New York. But right now, in the beginning, it was like it's fine to go eat. We saw a drop in business, but people were still dining. And then, this thing is changing every day, every few hours. So it escalated pretty quickly into, thinking about the safety of employees and people just needing to stay home. So like pretty much like every restaurant is closed. So that overnight, when we had to close restaurants, 7 million people got laid off. So huge companies, big and small, if you have like 7 employees, they all got laid off. If you have like, 700 employees, like they all got laid off. We have like 3,500 employees in our company, so everyone got laid off. So there are no restaurants right now. It's fucking crazy. There's a handful of restaurants still pushing and doing to go and curbside delivery, but there are no restaurants. So the big thing right now is in DC, they're working on a huge stimulus package. It's like a few $1 trillion, and there are some things in there that should be able to support smaller businesses.
Yeah.
It needs to pass the Senate. That's going to Senate tomorrow. So we're just trying to be really vocal about it being able to focus on smaller businesses and that money not going to bigger businesses. Because, it's a chain reaction. If restaurants are closed, that means everyone who works in a restaurant is out of business. That means everyone who sells meat, everyone who sells fish, everyone who sells vegetables, all those people are out of business.
Yeah.
Everyone who sells wine, beer, so it's, especially when you have like cities and states who are really dependent on food and beverage industry, like Oregon is highly dependent on food and beverage. Food and beverage employs 11% of the whole population of the state. So it's pretty bad here. So like, we really need the government to help us.
That's crazy. Cause obviously, especially Portland as a city is known for good food, especially all the food trucks and things like that. Is like, are they all closed as well?
Oh yeah, I mean, people were holding on. A lot of people were.
Well, they have to, right? Like when you're paying your rent and when you're paying for your kids and everything. Like America's not an cheap place to live. I don't think a lot of people in the rest of the world realize how expensive it is to live in America.
Mm-hmm. And also you have food in your restaurant. That's money. Like you want to try to pay a couple people a little bit at least.
Yeah.
So people were still holding on. There's a couple people still holding on. Obviously, I don't know what everyone's personal financial situation is. A lot of people are, using their restaurants as kitchens to feed other people. So around the country, a lot of people are feeding hospitals and feeding people in need. I think that's really awesome. Mm-hmm. But yeah, but it escalated really, really quickly from this being a problem in Seattle restaurants having a hard time to, now like restaurants in America are literally closed.
Yeah, because one of my friends, she owns a couple of burger restaurants in around the UK, and they were kind of doing the whole takeout thing, and they were doing a thing where you'd have to call up, you'd pay over the phone, and then you would be able to go and pick it up with a number. You wouldn't even go into the shop. They'd come and pick it out on, I guess you guys call it curbside.
Yeah.
But our government or prime minister pretty much closed everything down. Which honestly, I think it's probably a good thing. But it's not a good thing for business at the end of the day, but it's a good thing it's a good thing for humanity in the grand scheme of things. Yes, everyone's been affected to some sort of degree. However, it's kind of, you got to weigh up the pros and cons, right? Like when does it come to the point where people so out of pocket that you're literally making people homeless and they
Yeah.
can't survive and they can't carry on. And then when is there like a point where you're like, the world needs to just go back to how it was, and people are like, even if coronavirus is going to still be around, if you know what I mean, like, is it just something that we're going to have to live with? I don't know, but there comes a point when sometimes you kind of just have to be like, let's just roll with it and learn, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think, I think one example is like how flying changed after 9/11 and how like security heightened quite a bit after 9/11, and we just live with that. If they develop a cure or a vaccine, that's still that's a year out because they have to develop it, they have to test it, they have to go to trial. So that's like a year out. So, like I do believe that we're going to find ourselves in this, like living with Corona, and like if it peaks and it gets under control a little bit and we start to reopen things, like I think we're going to be living with Corona for quite some time, and we're going to have to try to figure it out. Luckily, our government over here is stepping in. We're going to see what happens. Is the government stepping over there at all, or not yet?
I'll be honest, I don't really follow much. I listen to the BBC when, like, I listened to the other night when Boris Johnson kind of kicked in and said and kind of forced shut everything. I don't really know how it works with insurances. I was talking to my barber the other day, and they were saying that even if the government force shuts everything, that that the insurance companies they don't have to pay. And I saw a load of things online saying Boris needs to force shut all the clubs and everything like that so the clubs can carry on going. But I think that comes down to the actual insurance companies. And I really don't. I think a lot of people are wanting to blame governments and presidents and everything like that. And I think there comes a point when I don't know I don't know if this is a blame thing. I don't think this is about blaming anyone. I think this is about is working with what we've got and just kind of rolling with it and just hoping that whatever we're being if we do whatever we're being guided to do and more, then hopefully we come out stronger at the end of it. I know in the UK they've got a lot more strict on people going out because they did kind of like a semi-lockdown last week, and it was Mother's Day on Sunday, just gone, and I think like the beaches and the like forests and the national parks were busier than they ever have been all year round, and it's just like people just at the end of the day people are just fucking stupid, really. It's just like not looking at the facts. But then on Sunday night, Boris Johnson came out and pretty much talked to everyone like we're a bunch of kids, kind of like we needed to be told, really, that you're not allowed to go out. And if you do go out, you're allowed to go out once a day with you or with your family members or whoever you live with. And you're only allowed to go out for necessities, meaning doctors, hospital, or groceries, so that you don't need to go out for anything else. And obviously if you're a health worker, you have to work. But one of my best friends, she's she's an OT, occupational therapist. She works in a hospital in Brighton, which is like south east near London, on the coast. And like I've been kind of keeping up with her every day, and she was saying, I was like, how is it at work? And she was like, we're just emptying all the hospitals out. All the hospitals are just being emptied just for when it gets bad, so that there's space for everyone to get there. So like our local hospital in Weston-super-Mare, I know somebody that was there the other day, and they were just like, they're emptying all the beds. Like nobody that needs to be in hospital is there. It's just for when shit hits the fan, it kind of gets taken. Like there's space, and I don't know, man. I don't think any of us know, really. I think there's so many professionals that still don't know, and I don't know. I kind of don't really want to spend my days just talking about, not talking, but just like being wrapped up in coronavirus. It just doesn't seem healthy.
It's not healthy at all,
but it's the facts, and you kind of got to deal with it.
Yeah, they're emptying out some of the jails here, like in New York and New Jersey.
That what? Sorry,
they're emptying out some of the jails because it's in Rikers Island. It's in a couple jails in New York, and it's like spreading really, really bad in the jails. So like, they're emptying out some of the jails. They're letting some people go early.
Damn, that's crazy.
Yeah.
How's moving on from coronavirus? That kind of started deep. First podcast ever, and it was deep as fuck. So you've taken a year out from... Right, first of all, anybody that doesn't know who you are, who are you? What do you do?
My name is Gregory Gourdet. I am a chef in Portland, Oregon. I've competed on Top Chef a few years ago. I'm currently competing on Top Chef All Stars. I'm known for global cuisine. I pretty much travel the world in search of flavors. I've worked at an Asian restaurant for the past 11 years. I've tapped into my Haitian heritage. My family's from Haiti, so I work with a lot of Caribbean and Haitian flavors as well. Mexico, Spain. I love bold flavors. I love working within the season, and I just like having fun in the kitchen.
Cool, man.
Not taking it too seriously.
So you used to be executive chef at Departure in Portland. Indeed,
yeah, which is a modern Asian restaurant right smack downtown Portland.
And it's fucking good. I went there. When did I go there? You weren't even in town.
September.
Yeah.
I was filming Top Chef.
Yeah, you were filming, and it was top secret that you were filming Top Chef. But yeah, that place was amazing.
Oh, good. Thanks.
No worries. Well, you're not even working there. Are you still working there? Are you still doing things?
I'm still in a consulting role. I'm not there for day-to-day operations, but I'm still in a consulting role.
Cool, man. And why did you leave?
So I've been there for 10 years, and it's a grind, working in a restaurant, especially when as busy as ours, it's 12, 13, 14-hour days. It's a pretty big grind, and then you add on events. You're running around the country. You're going around the globe, like doing events. It's just a lot. So we have a staff about 30 cooks, and we're open all day. So I just reached a point where I wanted to kind of pursue some of my own personal goals.
Yeah, and
it was really hard to do that and manage that restaurant at the same time. So currently, I'm working on opening my own restaurant, my own first restaurant, and I'm currently writing my first cookbook. So yeah.
How's the cookbook writing? Because I think I met you on Holy Ship like 2 years ago.
Yeah, exactly.
2 years ago. And ever since then, we've just kind of eaten in certain cities and talked about food and But last time I saw you, you just started writing the book. I think you just started the recipe. So like, what's the whole vibe on the book? So
cookbooks take quite a bit of time. Actually, I've already been working on it for 2 years, and I'm about to turn my manuscript in June 1st. It's due. So it's a pretty lengthy process. There's about 170 recipes in this book. It's a health cookbook. It's kind of showing people how to cook at home, but using global ingredients to make healthy, real food recipes. There's no gluten, there's no dairy, but there's lots of like whole foods in there. All the top 100 superfoods are in there. So just kind of all the influences that I've had my whole career, from working in French restaurants to traveling to Asia, all these things, all these flavors are represented in the book and showing people how to work with them at home. But I have a writer, he lives in New York City, and I have a photographer, she lives here. So we've almost shot the entire book. There's about 170 images. They're gorgeous. And I'm currently just kind of finishing recipes. I have about 30 recipes to go, and I'm just editing the recipes with my writer to make sure that they are perfect. So when people try the recipes at home, they're foolproof. And then, That they actually work. Yeah. Then the book goes. Yeah. Book goes to the editor, and then we design it, and then we print it, and then it comes out next year.
What do we know? What day it comes out?
It's a spring release, so probably April 2021.
So it's kind of like, although the whole coronavirus sucks, it's kind of giving you a bit of time to actually do work, right?
Yeah, I think one of the few things I feel lucky and a little guilty about is that, like, you know, I'm like kind of one step removed from my own restaurant right now.
Yeah.
So I kind of had this plan for this year, and that was stay home, take care of myself, do some traveling. Obviously, that's on the back burner right now, but I did have this huge project, which is the cookbook, and you know, I'm pretty good just kind of working on it. You know,
Yeah.
I think it's a good time for everybody to kind of dig into some side projects. Well, we all have this time.
Totally agree. I'm trying to as well. Hence doing this podcast.
Yeah.
So with obviously when I think the last time I ate with you was at Angler in LA.
Okay,
Which was the first time I tried caviar, which is on that like banana pancake, and it was unreal. Yeah, so I'd never heard of like industry night, which I was kind of amazed by. But I kind of want you to explain this. Like Monday night, is it Monday night? Is like industry night for everyone restaurants?
Yeah. So traditionally, you know, if you're high up on the ladder, you get Sunday and Mondays off because Saturday night is the busiest night of the week in a restaurant. So the dream schedule is to work, you know, Tuesday through Saturday, and then you get Sunday and Monday off.
So is that only if you're like a good chef? Like if you're like the head chef, all the others just have to fucking keep working.
Yeah, you know, sometimes when you're lower on the ladder, you know, you got to work. You know, you don't get those days off. You know, you got to work through Sunday and stuff like that.
Got to put the hustle in.
Yeah, but Monday's just been a night that people comes out. There's a lot of discounts on drinks, and it's just a good night because we know that it's one of the slowest days of the restaurant, so a lot of people have a day off. So that's kind of like the day that we get together, schedule events, and hang out, and sometimes there's bar specials and stuff like that.
It was fun. It was a fun experience. We should do it again. So
there's a lot of good restaurants. We've been to a lot of good restaurants together.
Yeah, what was the other one that we went to?
Osme in New York.
That was so good. Is it that mole? Was it mole?
The mole, the $30 mole.
Dude, kind of broke the bank a little bit, but Jesus, it was worth it. How many ingredients were in that one mole?
Oh, I have no idea. Because there was the black mole and then there was like a yellow mole that had the soft shell crab.
Oh yeah, the soft shell crab was really good.
Yeah, that was really
good. So on your industry night, what is your go-to?
I don't know. Right now, I just kind of go out whenever because before Corona, I had a lot of free nights because I wasn't at the restaurant 100%.
Yeah.
So, you know, Portland is a great food town, so we try to be extremely supportive of each other. You know, we all know each other.
Yeah.
And someone new comes to town and opens something, you know, we're extremely supportive. So you know, I think, you know, we have like any night can be industry night vibes. It's like whatever night we have off, you know, we'll go out. Is there
like that weird kind of competition in restaurant and chef life? Because I know, like, I can only talk for myself, but I think it's when you're kind of like you said, when you're like kind of lower down on the ladder in the music world. Like, I know I used to do it, and thank God I don't anymore because it kind of kills me. But being like, kind of, it's that jealousy thing of like when somebody's more successful, or like even if somebody's not more successful but you're not into it, that like you're like, it's kind of a bit of a competition, like why are they doing that and I'm not, etc., etc. Is that kind of in the chef industry? It's got to be, surely.
God. I hope not. I think it's more of like a personal thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, for me, you know, one of my life mottos is never compare myself to anybody else. I don't think it's healthy.
When did you learn that though? Because I don't believe that you've done that all your life.
I mean, granted, I feel like I've had a lot of success in life,
Yeah.
and at the same time, I'm surrounded by a bunch of peers who have had, far more successes in life. But it all determines. It all depends on how you define success.
I was just about to
Because
say
someone at home with like their 3 kids, their spouse or husband, they're completely happy, they're completely fine, even though they're not rich. To them, that is successful in a lot of different ways. Are we talking about money? Are we talking about awards? Or are we just talking about inner happiness? As a form of success. So I just realized it was too hard. Whenever I compared myself to someone, and I was like, yo, I want what they have. Like that's one thing, but I firmly believe that if you have a plan, you can achieve anything. And if I want to achieve something, if I want something that someone has, it's up to me to define and to decide how I can get it. And just kind of wanting it and being jealous and being angry is not effective. That's not going to do anything. But if I want something, the challenge is for me to be able to find out how to get it if I really want it. And I think that's something that we all need to do in life.
Preach, man, preach. I think it's something that everyone could kind of learn by and live by. But I also think we're lucky that we do something we absolutely fucking love.
Yeah, that too.
And I think it's easy to look at what other people have materialistically, especially with the likes of like social media nowadays. Like everyone's hood rich, man. Like everyone's got the new Off-Whites and the new Mercedes and whatever, and it's sometimes easy to be like, how have they got that? But I think realistically, it's like, what is success to you? And I don't think everybody knows what success is to them. I think that's the thing. So how do you find it in the kind of chef industry when it comes to lifestyle? Because it's pretty I think it's harder than DJ life, if I'm totally honest with you. Like you guys work fucking hard.
Yeah, I've been on a couple DJ tours and I think it's pretty hard. I think like the hours are crazy. Like the travel schedule is insane. I think DJing is pretty hard, honestly. But the restaurant industry is pretty tough. I think there was a lot of, the culture 20 years ago was, be a tough guy, work no matter what, get like really fucked up after work and then like do it all again the next day. Like work your ass off, work off the clock, get fucked up, do it all again the next day. I think the culture has changed a lot as people realize that we need to start taking care of ourselves to be healthy. The younger generation, they did not respond to that. They don't respond to that type of culture. So, it changed with their generation as well. And a lot of older people and older chefs kind of had to change the way they taught and led. But, I think there's something to be said about being passionate and believing in what you do. It's just a matter of fact, there's just so many pieces to working in a restaurant that those are the hours. There's always something to do. There's always someone there to manage, and there's just a lot of pieces. And the average chef day is 12 hours, and that's just the reality of it. And a lot of times we're on salary, so it just is what it is.
I guess 12 hours, 6 days a week, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I guess if you love it, it's
you do have to love
about.
It. And if you're an owner, if it's your business, those hours might be even longer.
They're even longer, man. You know how that is. Like, especially
some people have family.
Exactly. Yeah. That's the thing is I've seen some like things online, some Netflix like Chef's Table and things like that, and how like people actually move their family pretty much in their work. And like have their house connected to their restaurant so they can kind of do both.
That's my friend Peter. That's Portland.
Yeah. Oh, is that him?
Yeah.
No way. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Damn, you're so famous.
Yeah. It's a good restaurant. It's a really good restaurant. But they literally live in the restaurant.
Yeah, I saw. Have you seen the new David Chang's Ugly Delicious?
Yeah.
I actually really liked the first episode, and it was about kids. But there was an Asian restaurant, I think it was in New York, and it's pretty much their apartment, and they've just like split it in half. And
No, that's Con Oak. It's in Portland.
is that in Portland?
Yeah, it's called Con Oak. Yeah, it's my friend Peter.
Okay. The other one on Chef's Table was, I can't remember his name. Long, thin, skinny guy. I don't know. Does like a farm to table thing.
Yeah.
But that Portland restaurant looks really good.
Yeah, it's super good. It's really good. Korean. It's really good.
Yeah. What's your favorite restaurant in Portland?
My favorite restaurant in Portland? I have a lot of favorite restaurants in Portland. My friend opened up a restaurant called Mama Bird. It's fairly casual. It's just rotisserie chicken. It's like super simple and super healthy and like super easy to get to. It's really good. There's a Thai restaurant named Padi that I really love a lot. It's like Isan, it's like northeastern Thai food. It's like super good. There's a lot. Ox is a really good restaurant. Pok Pok is a classic Thai restaurant.
That's
that I
really
go to
good.
a lot.
I've been there once and it was amazing. I actually went on a date there once.
Okay. Which one?
It was an awkward get date. It was like after a show, she was like super hungover, and like I think we just barely spoke the whole time and just ate their chicken. It was a good day. So obviously, well, I know, but I don't know if many people know, the fact that you're sober. How's that?
You are.
Yeah, but we're different sobers. Like,
you just don't.
I just don't drink. For me, it's not like I've had anything in the past or anything. I just don't drink. But how does that work in the chef's world? Because as some of the listeners may know, like my parents own a drug and alcohol rehab, and we've had many of chefs come through. Because, like you said, it's like known that chefs get fucked up. They work really hard and they party even harder. Yeah. So how does that work now with you?
This is what happens. You have to work 12 hours. You know, it's hot. You're burning yourself. You know, someone's yelling at you. It's a high pressure situation because you have to do everything as fast as possible. The quickest release is the first thing that happens is you get off of work and you have a shift drink. So you go to the bar at your restaurant and you offered one drink. Sometimes you can have a couple more. Sometimes you can hang out there all night.
Does that depend on how high in the ladder you are? If you're like
or like or how big or small the restaurant is.
Okay.
And then after that, you go straight to the bar with everyone you work with.
Yeah.
And depending on the era, depending on the decade, depending on the city, it depends on it defines how fucked up you get. You know, I was a line cook in New York City in the early millennium. So
I didn't know that.
So you know, a city where the bars open till 4 a.m. There's always after hours. There's always after hours. Cocaine is rampant. You know, drugs are rampant. You know, so you know, growing up in the kitchen, you know, and then doing that every day for like 7 years, like really fucked me up. So I developed a pretty bad alcohol addiction and drug addiction, you know, being a cook in New York City.
Yeah.
You know, it pretty much happened like literally like within 1 year of working at my job where I worked for like almost 7 years for the company. I remember the first time I was late, and it literally happened within the first year of me working there. I like went out the night before. I had to work brunch the next day super early, and I got really fucked up and I overslept and I showed up to work late. And, you know, over the course of the next, 5 years, it went into like a really, really dark addiction to, smoking cocaine and drinking, and meth. And, it's a common story for people in the industry, because it's just designed to like have you like get off of work and start drinking, doing drugs because you're getting off of work at 11 p.m. midnight, and that's the quickest and easiest way to release yourself.
Relax, yeah.
So the same way that the kitchen got me fucked up, the kitchen saved me because when I moved to Portland after I was in rehab in New York City, I moved to San Diego, I found Portland. I walked into one of the kitchens I was working in, and the sous chef was sober, and he was like, "I haven't drank in 2 years," and it was literally the first time I met someone who hadn't drank in 2 years. I couldn't fathom that. So I saw his lifestyle, him and his other sober chef friends, and you know, a few months in, I realized like I had to get sober, and that was almost 11 years ago.
Damn,
Um,
congrats.
so yeah, so now it's still a pretty big thing in the industry. We actually have a really great resource in the States called Ben's Friends, and it's a recovery group for people in the food and beverage industry.
Okay.
So it's specifically focused to people who are, in the food and beverage industry, because say you're in Alcoholics Anonymous, and you still work at a bar or you're still a winemaker, you can't really talk about these things in probably in Alcoholics Anonymous meetings because you'll probably get judged,
Yeah,
like,
totally.
so we can talk about these things openly. Because we all understand.
I think that's the thing, because for me, like my mum is sober, and I've always known my mum to be. I think she's sober 35 years or something now, and
yeah,
she won't touch anything with alcohol in. And to the point now, because she's been sober for so long, that her body just can't take it. So even if she goes to a restaurant and something's been marinated in alcohol or been cooked in alcohol, it makes her really sick. So it's kind of to the point with her where she's kind of just allergic to alcohol now. But I also know that in her, like, everybody, sobriety is different for everybody and how they kind of level it out. But in her world, like, you don't take anything unless it gets to the point like life or death or serious pain, where she will take drugs prescribed from the doctors or hospital. How do you kind of level that out with, obviously you're cooking with a lot of chefs cook with alcohol and things like that. How does that work?
Yeah, I think it's different for a lot of people, and I got sober in AA, and hanging out with more people who are still working in restaurants now, was like I realize it's really different for everybody. For me, like I don't. I just wouldn't drink anything. I wouldn't taste anything. Then I started making my own kombucha at work, and like I would drink that every now and then. That felt fine. Probably like 5 years ago I wouldn't, but now every now and then I do. There's still people who taste, and that's different, but that's their sobriety, but people who have been lifelong bartenders who are not going to stop bartending, and it works for them. That's completely fine. But for me, I just don't really cook with alcohol. I might cook with like a little bit of sake, or a little bit of rum here and there, and like rum raisin ice cream. It's like a Haitian dish, but I just don't cook with a lot of alcohol, and I don't taste alcohol. I just don't cook with it a lot. And if I do, it's usually cooked out. But that doesn't scare me. To have something with cooked out alcohol.
With the cooked out, I've been told so many different things. Okay, and I've like seen things online, and chefs say that when the alcohol gets cooked out, but then there's not a single trace, and then there's some chefs that say that there is a trace of alcohol, etc., etc. Like, what is the truth? If you know what I mean.
I think the alcohol, yes, can definitely get cooked out, but it's just like the thing where, there's some people who've been sober for 30 years. They still want to walk into a bar because it makes them uncomfortable.
Yeah, totally.
So there's people who, will not even look or touch anything with alcohol in it at all.
Yeah.
I work in a restaurant, I work in a place that sells alcohol constantly. It's part of my job.
Totally.
So what I don't want to, and I don't want anything that tastes alcoholic, and I don't want anything that smells alcoholic. So I avoid those things, but it's just different for everyone. And I think, as more people don't drink for, bigger reasons than just severe alcoholism, like just even the difference between you and I, like I'm a recovering alcoholic and addict. You just don't drink because you just grew up that way, so there's different things for us, so I think that spectrum is getting broader as well, as people just choose to not drink for different reasons, and not necessarily because they have a problem, just because they don't want to drink.
I think it's more acceptable nowadays, especially in my industry. It's like, obviously people still get fucked up and people still drink and they still take a lot of drugs and stuff like that, but it's a lot more acceptable where if somebody, like, I remember maybe 10 years ago, if you said you didn't drink, everyone would still try and get you to drink. And it's like, and there comes a point, like, I remember when I used to live in Ibiza, like the way they greet you is they give you a shot, and the way you say goodbye is you get a shot. And it's like, that's just how it is out there. And it still is to a certain extent. But when people say, back then, when people say you don't drink, people wouldn't understand it. But I think now it's just a lot more acceptable, because I guess being healthy is so much more. I think everyone's realized that being healthy is so much better for you. And I also think, I don't know in your world, but in our world, in the music world, we've had like a few people, well, a lot of extremely talented people die due to addiction reasons or mental health reasons and things like that. And I think because of like media, and that's kind of came out a lot more, I think it's made it more acceptable for people not to. Is that kind of the same in the chef world?
Yeah, definitely. You know, I think with I think there was like a lot of reckoning. You know, I think when Me Too happened here, there was definitely a similar reckoning in the restaurant industry.
Yeah,
with a lot of big name chefs like Mario Batali, John Besh, who's a big chef down south in like Louisiana. A lot of people came forward, and there's a huge reckoning in the restaurant industry as well, where a lot of big name chefs had these decades long histories of mistreating people and mistreating women.
Yeah.
And that really kind of started a really, really big conversation about how we treat each other in the kitchen. And through that, you know, mental health and physical wellness became part of the story.
I think that's dope. How with that, Ben, did you say it's Ben's Friends?
Ben's Friends, yeah.
Is that worldwide? Or, because I saw it on your Instagram the other day, and I've never heard of it before.
Yeah, it's so we're about 2 years old, and Ben was a chef in South Carolina. He was opening a hotel with some friends. He had a lifelong of alcohol addiction and struggles. He seemed fine every single day, and then secretly he was going back up to his hotel room while they're opening this hotel and restaurant and getting drunk. And one day he hung himself. So during the restaurant opening, so his friends decided that they would start this program, this group, the support group for us who are in the industry struggling. So right now we have chapters in about 10 different cities in America. A lot on the East Coast. We have Portland, Seattle, Nashville. Growing more Atlanta, and their weekly meetings where anyone in the industry who's in recovery, trying to recover, just dealing with alcohol issues, no judgments. It's not an AA program. It's not anonymous. It's just a space to talk about issues and challenges, and people with a little more experience give advice. And right now with coronavirus, actually all those meetings are online.
Okay.
So we actually we're starting next week to have a meeting every single day of the week that's open to the whole country and the world, really. And I'll post that on my social media.
So how does that work with meetings online?
Yeah, we just do Zoom, and you just dial in, and everyone's face pops up, and we just hold the meeting that way, and we go around and people share. It's cool. It's cool to I think there's a lot of awkwardness walking into a meeting if you're walking to an AA meeting or whatever, and you're kind of new to the whole thing, but being able to just dial in from your house where you're comfortable makes walking into a meeting a lot easier.
Much easier.
And plus we're all in the same boat right now. Everyone throughout the country and every state throughout the world, we're pretty much in the same boat, so it's kind of nice to be able to check in with people because we're all in the same boat.
I wonder how many people are drinking more as well, because I went to the supermarket the other day, and it was literally toilet roll, beer, and wine had all gone. Like, there was food on the shelves apart from beer, wine, and toilet roll, and I'm like, Jesus, this is not good for the alcoholics. So how if people are like struggling with addiction and things like that, is Ben's Friends just for people in the industry, or is it anyone, or like how does it work? How do people join in?
It's for the food and beverage industry.
Okay.
Yeah. winemakers, bartenders, chefs, caterers, anyone affiliated at all, and at any time in their career as well.
Yeah.
But obviously, we would never like kick someone out if they weren't part of the
Yeah, you're not allowed in.
No, we're a recovery group for everybody.
Do you still do AA, if you don't mind me asking?
I do.
I've always wanted to go to one, and I've always kind of like said to my mum that I always want to go to one, and I just never have, because like anyone can go to them, right?
Yeah, like, we can go.
Maybe we should go when we're in New York next time. We should go.
Yeah, let's do it. Yeah, let's go.
Because it's weird, because I used to work in my parents' rehab, so I've been to groups. I've been in group therapy, and I've done all of that. But it's like, I don't know. I kind of just want to go. I've never experienced one.
You've never? Yeah, they're good.
Do you have NA in America as well?
Yeah, we do.
Do you do that as well?
No, I don't know. I don't know. I think NA is good. It's like
you can say how you feel. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Don't hold back.
No, I'm just saying like NA is like the real thing. People in AA are like the real thing. I don't know. I found AA and it worked for me.
Yeah.
Like I feel like looking back at my addiction, there were times where I stopped doing drugs, but there was never a time where I stopped drinking.
Yeah.
So I just decided to pick one, and AA seemed I was introduce myself as an alcoholic and an addict because I struggled with both alcohols and drugs.
That makes sense. When you did, sorry, I'm going proper personal. I hope you don't mind. But when you were in treatment, how is the program? Was it just like a 12-step kind of program, or how is it in America? Because I don't know.
When I was in rehab,
yeah.
So I did not take rehab seriously.
You're one of them.
Yeah. Well, you don't just get sober overnight.
No, 100%.
That's the reality of it. It takes years. From like the day that my friends were like, "You need to go to rehab," and I was like, "Hey, mom and dad, I need to go to rehab."
Yeah.
From that day to the time I actually got sober was like 2 years.
Yeah.
So it's like 2 years of back and forth, just kind of fucking around in there. So for me, rehab was like, hey, you're fucking up so bad at work. I need you to go to rehab, or if you can't work here. And then I checked into like an outpatient rehab in Union Square in the city. And I would drink and I would, do drugs. And then I actually moved. I only lasted 2 weeks and I moved to California.
Okay.
So I actually didn't get sober via the rehab route.
Okay.
But 2 years later, I got sober through AA.
Oh, cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's dope, man. So you're in the process of opening your own restaurant. Obviously, a lot of that's probably on hold right now with Corona.
A lot of things on hold. I'm trying to be supportive to my friends with businesses now, and just reaching out to my government officials and just trying to see how I can be just vocal and supportive as we figure out what we're going to do here.
Totally. Eventually, the plan is to have your own restaurant, right?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
And what?
I'm still expecting to open next year.
Okay, cool. So, can we know a little bit more about what you're planning on doing?
Yeah. So it's a wood-fired concept, live fire cooking. Definitely a culmination of everything I've experienced throughout my whole life. I definitely want to have a strong Haitian focus because I feel Haitian cuisine is very underserved in America. I mean, outside of like New York and, Brooklyn and Miami, there really isn't much Haitian food in America, Jersey. But it's really not something that anyone really has had.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm really, really excited that, as I've traveled the world for the restaurant and for different things, I've always wanted to kind of reconnect with my culture because I didn't grow up cooking. I didn't start cooking until I was older. So it's been good to reconnect, and I'm really excited to bring that to the table. And then just have some lifelong influences in there as well. I love Thai food. I love Mexican food. Pretty much anything tropical, anything that has a big history of chilies, anything ethnic. I'm inspired by those flavors, and I love kind of working with like lots of different flavors from all around the world.
So if you need any recipes, just let me know. Check my Instagram out. It will makes you hungry.
The ramen recipe, the will make you hungry, the veggie curry recipe.
I'll make you some curry any day. So what actually is Haitian food? I've never had it.
Yeah, so Caribbean flavors, so lots of rice and beans, plantains, lots of starchy root vegetables like yuca. Yeah.
I didn't know that because in Bristol in the UK, have you ever been to Bristol?
No, I've never been to Bristol.
Dude, you have to come and visit because obviously when Corona's back, we've got like a huge Jamaican population, massive Jamaican population. Well, obviously there's a huge Jamaican population in the whole of the UK and generally, but there's a Jamaican restaurant called Rice and Things, which is, dude, is so good. And it's very like, I don't know what the word is. It's very bootstrappy. It's like you just go in and it's almost like you're in someone's living room. It's not like fancy or anything like that.
Yeah.
But you go in there and you're like, order something and they're like, oh, we've run out. Sorry, you can't have this, but we've got this. Yeah. It's amazing. It's so good. Their jerk chicken is unreal as well.
Sounds bomb.
So are your parents in America?
Yeah, they retired to Florida. They lived in New York for like 40 years and they retired to Florida.
Oh, so you grew up in New York?
Yeah, I grew up in New York City. I grew up in Queens.
Oh, damn, I didn't know that.
Yeah. I've been on the West Coast for about 13 years.
Yeah. Cool, man. Cool. Yeah. So, dude, how can people find you?
Instagram, GG30,000. Twitter, GG30,000. Facebook, Gregory Gourdet, but we know it's all about Instagram right now.
It's all about Instagram, right? Do you do like any YouTube stuff or anything?
Not really. I think about diving in, but no, I just Instagram right now.
Dude, we have to start a cooking show. We've been talking about this a couple of times.
I'm down. We have a lot of things to do after Corona.
I know, right? When we're anti-coronafied, let's put our heads together and let's start.
Everyone's gonna want to fucking get on a plane as soon as this thing's over. So
exactly, there's gonna be like so much going on.
We're gonna want to rage. I'm so sorry I missed your tour. Of all the dates to get canceled.
I know, right? The one you planned to come to Seattle, and it was the one show that got canceled.
I planned for so long.
Literally before it even got announced.
I had my outfit ready. I ordered my shirt.
What restaurant were we gonna go to?
There was this restaurant named Stateside. It's Vietnamese
so good there.
Restaurant. Yeah, you went there.
It's so good.
There's another restaurant called 8 Row that I was thinking about taking us for brunch, and it's kind of more of an American restaurant, but he just opened up. He's a good friend of mine, so I think I want to take you there.
Dope.
But
what's your favorite restaurant you've ever been to?
That I've ever been to? So the Nam is a Thai restaurant in Thailand. It's in Bangkok, and there used to be a chef named David Thompson. He's actually a pretty renowned figure on Thai food.
Okay.
He's currently in Australia, but he wrote we call it the Bible. It's called Thai food. It's one of the best Thai food cookbooks, and he uses a lot of heat, a lot of flavor, and I was able to spend a couple weeks in his kitchen. But the meals there have been probably the most memorable meals of my life for sure.
Have you ever been to India?
No, I want to.
I really want to go. No, dude, I really want to go. Like,
okay, let's go.
Obviously, Indian food is my favorite food, so I really want to go check it out. And there was actually on that David Chang show again, the Ugly Delicious. They did a section in India, and it was just like I really want to do it. I want an Indian restaurant one day. Like the least Indian person, but fuck it. Right, dude, let's wrap this up. We've nearly been going for an hour. So GG3000 on Instagram.
30,000.
GG30,000 on Instagram. What's your Twitter?
GG30,000.
Oh, on Twitter. Easy.
Yeah, same thing.
Cool, man. Well, thank you so much for being on the podcast. This is the first one,
Yeah,
so
thank you.
come back when you do the book, and come back when you do the restaurant opening. I'll tell you what, when you open the restaurant, I'll come down and we do a podcast at the restaurant.
Okay, well, you also have to DJ.
Oh, fuck.
We talked about this.
Maybe. Yeah, I'll do the opening, and then the day after.
We're going to do the opening party, and you're going to DJ. It's a plan.
Deal, man. Just book it in.
All right,
mate. Have a good one. Keep safe with everything, and let me know if you need anything.
All right.
Love you, man.
Cheers, thanks, brother.
So that is episode 1 done. Damn, that was fun. I really enjoyed that. Thanks to everybody that listened. If you're still listening now, I'd love it if you could just go and share it with your best mate or your mum or your dad or anyone. Also, if you want to hit 5 stars or however many stars you think it's worth on the iTunes or whatever they have on Spotify. Huge love, and I'll see you all next time.